We have an update regarding the Jussie Smollett drama. Not that anybody even gives a shit anymore, but there has been a settlement reached with regard to Jussie Smollett's hoax that he perpetrated in the city of Chicago back in 2019. When was that? In February? Something like that in 2019. He is going to be making a charitable donation to settle Chicago's hoax attack lawsuit. This is out of NBC News. The 42-year-old, quote, Empire, end quote, actor, that's a TV show, by the way, former, I'm not sure if it's even on anymore or not. I don't know. I never watched it, never really cared. Let's see. He said that he would donate $60,000 to a charity to settle the 6-year legal battle with the city, even though he still claims that he did nothing wrong. He's not guilty of this crime that he had committed. It wasn't him. This was still done to him. He's still the victim, but if he was a victim of this, then why would he be paying $60,000 to charities to settle this lawsuit? But anyway, I'll go ahead and get into it. Weeks after the city of Chicago and Jussie Smollett announced a settlement to resolve their years-long legal battle over the actor's 2019 claim that he was the victim of a hate crime, Smollett took to social media to disclose the terms of the agreement. He said Friday he would donate $50,000 to the Building Brighter Futures Center for the Arts charity as a part of a deal to secure the case's dismissal. He also said he would be making an additional $10,000 donation to the Chicago Torture Justice Center. Now, I got a lot of questions, or at least one question with regard to the Chicago Torture Justice Center. What the hell is it? Because it sounds ominous, sounds morbid, sounds weird. Sounds something that probably would be of such an occurrence so often in a blue city that it would warrant a name such as that. Torture Justice Center. I don't even know what to make of that, but maybe it's just it's a center where people help out others who have been tortured. I mean, that's what common sense tells me, or at least that's what. I don't know. That's just the best conclusion that I could draw. Anyway, NBC News reached out to a Building Brighter Future Center for the Arts in the city of Chicago to confirm Smollett's donations and details of the settlement, but did not receive a response. The Chicago Torture Justice Center confirmed Smollett's donation in an Instagram post Friday, so I guess they already received it. That's what I'm assuming. The actor said his decision to settle the civil lawsuit was not the most difficult to make and allowed him to support the communities too often neglected by those in power. I'll get to that in a minute. Smollett, who is black and gay. Oh, thank you, CBS News. We really needed to know that. That was so important that we would actually need to know that. He first reported a hate crime committed against him in January 2019, alleging that two men confronted him with racial and homophobic slurs, wrapped a rope around his neck, and poured bleach on him. This is MAGA country. However, police and city officials later said he orchestrated the hoax hate crime against himself, which, by the way, was in the middle of a polar vortex, if I'm not mistaken, meaning that the temperatures were something like 20 degrees below zero outside at the time that happened, which was at like, 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, as if, white MAGA supporters in the middle of Chicago, which is among the bluest cities in the country, they not only knew what he looked like, and not only did they know him by name and all that stuff, but they managed to have a bottle of bleach in their possession magically, because how else would they have known that he was going to be out walking around in the city at 3 o'clock in the morning? And because they knew that, they would grab a noose, they grab bleach. It's just it's just an odd assortment of random accessories just to be carrying around, just looking for somebody to victimize. Especially at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning in February in Chicago, the Windy City, during a polar vortex, 20 degrees below zero. Didn't quite add up from the get-go, needless to say. But anyway, I'll digress. However, police and city officials later said he orchestrated the hoax hate crime against himself. The city's suit accused Smollett of submitting a false police report on January 29th of 2019. Okay, so it was late January, might as well have been February. Saying he knew his attackers and planned the attack. And it sought $130,000 in expenses spent on the police investigation. Now, let me stop right there. That sounds actually like a really good deal for Jussie Smollett. He should be paying the city of Chicago $130,000 because that's how much money it costs for the city to investigate this hoax crime. And he only has to pay $60,000, which is, I mean, if my math is right, it's less than half of what he should be paying the city of Chicago. So, sounds to me like that the citizens of Chicago, the residents, the taxpayers of Chicago are going to be on the hook for the remaining, what is that, $70,000? Yeah, $70,000. So, sorry, residents of Chicago, but looks like you're stuck with it. Even though he should be paying the whole thing, I'm sure he can afford it, being a famous actor on the TV show Empire, among other things. I'm sure he's done other things. I'm sure after this whole thing had settled down, I haven't looked into what he's been doing. Wouldn't surprise me if you go on IMDb and find out that he was given a few, sweetheart project deals as a sympathy for this grave injustice that he had perpetrated on himself. Brothers Olabingo and Abimbola Osindaro. Look, it's not in the news anymore. This is like friggin' 6 years ago. I have heard those names. I can't pronounce them anymore. Once upon a time, I may have. Don't know. But anyway, it's on screen. You get the picture. I believe they were from Nigeria. I can at least tell you that, I think. Who worked on the Empire set, said they were paid by Smollett to stage the hate crime and testified against the actor during his trial. I thought they were also like his trainers or something like that, like physical fitness trainers, like in the gym or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm not remembering that right. But anyway, Smollett was found guilty on 5 counts of felony disorderly conduct in December of 2021 and sentenced to 150 days in jail and 30 months probation in March of 22. But the Illinois Supreme Court overturned the conviction in November 2024 over prosecutorial issues, which, by the way, he was sent to jail. He spent all of, 3 days in jail before he kept complaining about having like panic attacks or some shit. So then the judge was like, all right, you don't have to stay in jail. In other words, he threw a giant hissy temper tantrum and they just let him out. They're like, okay, fine, you don't have to serve the rest of your time in jail. We're sorry. Sorry we put you through that. The state high court ruled that Smollett should have never been charged in the first place after entering a non-prosecution agreement with the Cook County State Attorney's Office. Smollett has maintained his innocence over the years. Okay, then why are you spending $60,000 of your money toward charities then if you're so innocent? Why aren't you fighting that? He ended his post thanking his supporters, which I will get to that. I think I actually have a clearer version of that post. I think what was shared on the news article was possibly an image. Maybe it wasn't, but anyway, this is coming from Us Weekly. This was just posted an hour ago. Even though I believe the post that he had, yeah, here it is, was yesterday, it appears, and this was on Instagram. I don't have Instagram, so I can't pull up the original. But anyway, Jussie Smollett is maintaining his innocence while settling his civil lawsuit stemming from the alleged 2019 attack hoax. It's probably the same article, copy and pasted, is what I'm assuming. It's a picture of him in court. Obviously, it's during COVID season, or the COVID era. So anyway, let's see. He's maintaining his innocence, he being Jussie Smollett, while settling his civil lawsuit stemming from his 2019 attack hoax, alleged. Okay, so let's see here. Looks like they're quoting him directly. Quote, over 6 years ago, after it was reported I had been jumped, city officials in Chicago set out to convince the public that I willfully set an assault against myself. This false narrative has left a stain on my character that will not soon disappear. Smollett, or Smollett, if you listen to Dave Chappelle, age 42, wrote in a statement shared via Instagram on Friday, May 23rd, quote, these officials wanted my money and wanted my confession for something I did not do. Today it should be clear they have received neither. He continued, the decision to settle the civil lawsuit was not the most difficult one to make. After repeatedly refusing to pay the city, I was presented with an opportunity to make a charitable donation in exchange for the case being dismissed. Dude, this dude is nonstop temper tantrums and throwing hissy fits. Throws a hissy fit in jail. They're like, okay, you don't have to. And then he throws a hissy fit over having to pay the city back. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to pay us. You can pay donations, which, by the way, these organizations that he's paying to, they're run by the city. So he is still paying the city. He's just an idiot, apparently. Let's see. Despite what happened there politically, Chicago was my home for over 5 years, and the people became my family. Therefore, making a donation to benefit Chicago communities that are too often neglected by those in power will always be something I support. Neglected by those in power. Who would that be? Democrats, right? What is your political affiliation, Jussie Smollett? Remind us again. The Empire Star went on to reveal that he had made a $50,000 donation to the Building Brighter Future Center for the Arts. That he already made it. Because according to them, I believe the last article stated they hadn't received anything yet. A foundation that supports underprivileged youth. This organization was my choosing. Oh, this is Jussie again. This organization was my choosing, and I'm comforted that there will be at least one winner from this experience, he continued in a statement. Smollett also shared that he donated an additional $10,000 to the Chicago Torture Justice Center, which we get that, who provides resources to communities healing from violence of the Chicago Police Department. Oh, well, that's kind of jacked up. So these are, quote, victims of police violence in the city of Chicago, and they call the nonprofit the Chicago Torture Justice Center. Okay, Chicago. Anyway, this generous donation from Mr. Smollett is so meaningful and deeply impactful as we celebrate and honor the 10th anniversary of the historic reparations ordinance in Chicago. The post read in part, this 10th anniversary offers us a moment of reflection on what is possible when we stand together and imagine a better future for our communities, a world that values healing and repair instead of punishment and incarceration. The post concluded, again, we are so grateful to Mr. Smollett and every donor who supports this necessary work. Smollett reported he had been a victim, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Homophobic slurs, racial, yada, 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 fake, fake, fake. Police and city officials claim the actor was behind the hoax hate crime, going on accusing him of submitting a false police report and claiming he knew his attackers, brothers Olabingo and Abimbola Osundaro, who alleged they were paid by Smollett to stage the attack. The city sued the actor for $130,000 relating to the police investigation into the attack, and he denied the claims and countersued, which I believe those brothers were paid, if I'm not mistaken, it was $3,000 or $3,500. That's how much that he gave them, which is stupid ass. He actually wrote them a check. He didn't give them cash like any other person who's trying to stage a hoax or a crime, or, well, both in that case. He actually wrote them a check, which is hilariously stupid. Smollett was found guilty on 5 counts of felony disorderly conduct in December of 21 and sentenced to 150 days in jail, of which he served practically none, and 30 months probation in March of 22. Probably didn't do that either. 2 years later, in November of 24, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned the conviction, citing prosecutorial issues. And it's probably just more and more of the same. Maintain his innocence, blah, blah, effing blah. You know, I really honestly couldn't care less. I just figured that I would mention this because it's making its rounds online, and this is, 6 years in the making now, and apparently it is over. After he makes these 2 donations, hopefully we won't have to hear anything about Jussie Smollett anymore. We won't have to hear about this, the hoax that he started, his career. I don't even know. Probably not going to really go anywhere, but who knows? You know, with Hollywood, yeah, who the hell knows? But anyway, this is from Pop Crave. Jussie Smollett reacts to jail sentence. This was back in March 10th of 2022. I'd figure I'd play this. And in here it says, I am innocent and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years, in the fears of the LGBT community. Now, don't forget, this dude's an actor. He's an actor. So, you know, dude can act. That's what he does. He acts. He pretends for a living. He memorizes lines. He practices until he makes perfect. So let's see what happens here. Maybe. There we go.
I am not suicidal.
I'm not suicidal.
Okay. I am not suicidal. Okay. I am not suicidal.
I am not Jeffrey Epstein. I will not be Jeffrey Epstein. I am not suicidal. You hear me? I'm not suicidal. Not like Jeffrey. Or not like Jeffrey.
I am innocent. and I am not suicidal.
No, you're not.
If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this. And I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And you must all know that. I respect you, Your Honor. I respect your decision. Jail time. I am not suicidal.
Jail time what?
Mr. Uche.
Jail time what? Jail time. I can't do jail. I can't do jail. I'm too good for jail. I am an actor. 400 years. I'm an actor. Anyway, Jussie Smollett stages a fake hate crime, blames it on 2 Trump supporters in MAGA hats, claims they put a noose around his neck, and yelled, "This is MAGA country." And then he settles with the city of Chicago by donating $50,000 to a charity of his choice. No trial, no real. Well, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for y'all. No real penalty. This after the Illinois Supreme Court, in a 5-0 ruling, all Democrat judges, by the way, overturned his conviction because he already did community service and paid $10,000. This man nearly sparked a racial war just to boost his fame. Now he walks away again, no consequences, and still playing the victim. And we're supposed to just move on? If a white guy faked a hate crime and blamed it on 2 black men, this country would never stop talking about it. Yeah, I believe that. Or I would buy that. But when Jussie does it, we get excuses and press treating him like he's misunderstood. This is why people are done. This is why they have black fatigue. Done with the double standards. And honestly, I don't want to hear another word about white privilege after this, because if anyone else tried what Smollett pulled, especially a white conservative, they'd be crucified by the press and in jail for life. Yeah, there's some validity to that, I'm sure, but this isn't the last we're going to hear of that term. I mean, that they absolutely love using that term over on the left. They can't get enough of it. So anyway, that came from TMK, or the MAGA King 2_0 over there on the X platform. And so this is from yesterday, and this is the post that Jussie Smollett put on his Instagram. I'm going to see if I could try to make this a little bit bigger here. Actually, I'll try to even zoom in. So it actually did turn out to be an image and not a link to, which I don't think Instagram works if you're not signed into it, right? I think you have to actually be signed into it. Well, anyway, this thing, it doesn't want to blow up. Everything else gets bigger except for the text. So anyway, I'll just have to read it small. So, sorry. Over 6 years ago, this, by the way, is written by Jussie Smollett. Over 6 years ago, after it was reported I had been jumped, city officials in Chicago set out to convince the public that I willfully set an assault against myself. This false narrative has left a stain on my character and will not soon disappear. These officials wanted my money, wanted my confession for something I did not do. Today, it should be clear, they have received neither. Well, I mean, the whole torture thing, that organization doesn't sound like that it's run by the city of Chicago, but that initial article from over here at NBC News, pretty sure in here that it said it was run by both, or one, if not both of them, were connected to the city of Chicago. And the city of Chicago. Yeah, I don't know. I thought I read that somewhere, but anyway, the decision to settle the civil lawsuit was not the most difficult one to make. After repeatedly refusing to pay the city, I was presented with an opportunity to make a charitable donation in exchange for the case being dismissed. He kept refusing to pay the city. Why didn't the city just sue him and garnish his ass? That's what they should have done. They should have gotten a judgment, which maybe he would have shown up to that. I don't know. But look, they could have gotten it from him one way or another. They just chose not to. He's trying to stand up on his high horse, on his big soapbox, and try to make this big, powerful statement like, I took down the city of Chicago. They didn't get any money from me. I fought and fought for 6 years and I won. No, not really, dude. If they wanted to take it, they would have gotten it. No, the truth is that they're on his side because they're politically on the same side at the end of the day. Plus, he checks the boxes. He's a person of color. He's LGBTQ. I don't know what else. Anyway, despite what happened there politically, Chicago was my home for over 5 years, and the people became my family. Therefore, making a donation to benefit Chicago communities that are too often neglected by those in power and will always be something I support. I've made a $50,000, dude, the only reason you're making these donations is because the city told you had to. I'm sure behind closed doors they said, look, Pay the donations, 60,000. If not, we're going to take 130 out of you. One way or another. What's your pleasure? And he's trying to make it sound like that this, like he's fully in control. The city has nothing on him. He's doing this all on his own. Anyway, I've made a $50,000 direct donation to Building Brighter Future Center for the Arts, BBF, of which they haven't commented as to whether they've received it or not, though. A local nonprofit doing incredible work nurturing self-expression, creativity, and exploration of the arts in the Chicago youth, for the Chicago youth. This organization was of my choosing, and I'm comforted that there will be at least one winner from this experience. Though I was exonerated by the Illinois Supreme Court in a unanimous decision, and the civil case will now be dismissed. Yeah, the civil case. I'm pretty sure dude still got felonies. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I figured he did. I'm aware that it will not change everyone's mind about me or the attack I experienced. That you set up, dude. I mean, he was still attacked. He still got his ass kicked. But the only thing is that he paid the people over $3,000 to beat the shit out of him. I mean, that's what he did. He paid people a shitload of money to beat the crap out of him. Anyway, however, despite arduous and expensive attempts to punish me, I am innocent in the eyes of God and our criminal justice system. What I have to do now is move forward. I will continue creating my art, fighting passionately for causes I hold dear, and defending my integrity and family name with the truth. Lastly, I'm grateful to have had the resources to defend myself. So many do not. They are backed into corners to take deals or confess to crimes they did not actually commit. In their honor, I am donating an additional $10,000 to the Chicago Torture Justice Center, who provides resources to communities healing from the violence of the Chicago Police Department. Dude, $10,000 these days ain't that much. To anyone who has had to prove that they have in fact been violated, you know how difficult this can be to navigate. I stand with and for you. To everyone who has supported me, thank you. Your prayers and beliefs in me mean more than words can properly express. I will never take it lightly and will never forget. Onward, with love and respect, Jussie Smollett. And that is the end of his statement. Maybe that is the end of him being in the public eye, hopefully forever, because, yeah, I think the world, and for the most part, could probably agree that, we've had enough of this dude. Just be done. I mean, the major speculation was at the time was that his career was slipping. The show Empire wasn't doing as well as it was to be expected, and this was just his way of trying to balloon his name up in the public eye so he can get bigger and better deals, better gigs, better screen time, and all this and that. Trying to make a name for himself. That's really, honestly, probably the real reason behind the whole thing. Was just him just trying to get some clout for himself by staging one of the dumbest ass hoaxes that anybody has ever staged, ever in the history of humanity. So yeah, I believe that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's from the earlier video that I already did. I mean, lately, like before I put a video together, I'll bookmark some stuff here on X and then I'll go through it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Hopefully that's the end of Jussie Smollett, not the end of him in person. I'm just saying, like, hopefully that's the end of all this nonsense that we'll hear about him. It probably will be, now that it's all said and done. I'm pretty sure that the city of Chicago, they washed their hands of the whole thing and it's over with. Not sure if he's got felonies or not. I mean, I guess I could look it up, but I would go off on a limb and say he probably does. But I don't know. I guess there's one way to find out, but maybe not. His felony status, his conviction for lying to police about a staged hate crime, was overturned by the Supreme Court, which means he no longer has any felonies. Okay, well, that answers that. Well, actually, I'm glad that I looked that up because I assumed that he was still going to end up with them, because I thought the Supreme Court was pertaining to a civil case, not his criminal conviction. So let me just, while I'm at it, why not? I'll jump over here to IMDb and see if there's anything else that he's been doing. I mean, it's been 6 years. I suppose that it's possible. I mean, I would think that it comes right up. Yeah. Oh, it did say 2015 to 2019. So maybe not. Maybe that's Maybe that's the last thing that he did, but no, actually, he did it 1.6. The Lost Holiday in 2024. That is the only thing that he has done since this big hoax. So he did one gig called The Lost Holiday. Never heard of it. When Cassandra Marshall learns that her estranged son, Damian Holiday, has died, she heads to LA to handle his arrangements. She arrives to find that they're being handled by her son's husband, Jason Holiday, who she knows nothing about. So it only got 350 reviews or votes, and yeah, a 1.6 is bad, dude. That's like Snow White remake bad. That is really bad. So I mean, obviously, since it's only had a few hundred votes, you know, I seriously doubt that this really made it to many silver screens out in the movie theater world. But yeah, that's abysmal, Jussie Smollett. So I guess I would advise maybe just giving the whole acting thing a rest, because that is definitely that's not your big comeback, needless to say. But yeah, pretty wild, I guess. Not really. It's to be expected. I mean, I can't say that the 1.6 star rating isn't satisfying, because it kind of is. But anyway, that's all I got. Hopefully that's the end of Jussie Smollett. So see you later.